Hey, you. Welcome to another Can We Talk? No pressure. No pretending. No having everything figured out. Just you, me, and a few minutes to breathe, think, and maybe see your life from a slightly different angle. Today, I want us to talk about something I believe sounds embarrassing. I mean, starting again. Feels like admitting that something didn't work. A relationship ended. A business didn't happen. A career didn't go the way you imagined. A dream got postponed. Maybe you spent years taking care of everybody else and suddenly realized, wait, what about me? Or perhaps you simply woke up one morning and thought, this isn't the life I thought I'd have. And that's a painful realization. Can we talk about that? Because I think we've been taught to see life as a race. School, career, marriage, money, success, retirement, tick, tick, tick. And somewhere along the way, we start believing that if we don't reach a particular milestone at a particular age, we have failed, especially when you look around and it seems everybody else is moving. Everyone seems to have their entire life figured out. And you're sitting there thinking, it's easy to think and admit that you are late. But here's something I want you to hear today. Your timeline is not a moral judgment. Being late isn't the same thing as being lost. And taking longer doesn't mean you didn't deserve the destination. Sometimes life doesn't give us a straight road. Sometimes we take the wrong turn. Sometimes circumstances stop us. Sometimes we stop ourselves. Sometimes we're simply surviving. And sometimes we change. The person who wanted one thing at the 20th of May wants something completely different at 40. And that's okay. You are allowed to outgrow an old version of yourself. You are allowed to say, this isn't working anymore. I'm going to try something different. That's not failure. That's awareness. Starting again can be scary. Let's be honest. Starting again when you're young can feel adventurous. Starting again when you've already experienced disappointment. That's different. Because now you know what can go wrong. You remember the rejection. You remember the heartbreak. You remember the money you lost. You remember the opportunity that disappeared. You remember trying before. So when another opportunity comes along, part of you says, don't bother. Remember what happened last time. And that voice can sound very convincing. But here's the problem. A past disappointment can become a prediction if you let it. And your past is allowed to inform you. But it doesn't have to imprison you. Maybe you tried something 5 years ago and failed. That doesn't necessarily mean you will fail today. Because you're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You know more. You've experienced more. You have information now that you didn't have then. So perhaps this isn't really starting from zero. Perhaps you're starting from experience. And that's a very different thing. Here's another trap. When we decide to start again, we sometimes think we need a dramatic transformation. New career, new city, new body, new business, new everything. But maybe your next beginning is much smaller. Maybe it's finally making the phone call, applying for the job, opening the book, recording the first episode, taking the course, going for the walk, forgiving yourself, asking for help, saying no, saying yes, or simply getting out of bed tomorrow and deciding, I'm going to try again. Small beginnings count. Actually, most big beginnings look ridiculously small at first. A seed doesn't look like a tree. A first draft doesn't look like a book. A first video doesn't look like a channel. A first conversation doesn't look like a community. And your first step doesn't have to look impressive. It just has to be real. And please stop comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. I know, easier said than done. But comparison can make us feel like we're failing when we're simply at a different stage. Someone else's progress doesn't invalidate yours. Their timing isn't your timing. Their resources aren't your resources. Their circumstances aren't your circumstances. And their journey isn't your assignment. So instead of asking, why am I not where they are? Try asking, what is the next honest step for me? Not 10 steps. Not the entire 5-year plan. Just the next one. Because sometimes we don't need more motivation. We need less pressure. So, if you're starting again, I want you to give yourself permission. Permission to be nervous. Permission to learn slowly. Permission to take a different route. Permission to start at an age you never imagined you'd be starting. And most importantly, permission to believe that your story isn't over simply because it didn't happen the way you expected. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're becoming. Maybe the chapter you're embarrassed about will eventually become the chapter that taught you the most. Maybe the detour wasn't the end of your story. Maybe it was preparation. One last thing. If you've been waiting for the perfect moment to begin again, this is your reminder. There may never be a perfect moment. There will always be a reason to wait. You're too old. You're too young. You don't have enough money. You don't know enough. You don't have the right equipment. You don't have enough followers. You've already failed. People might laugh. People might judge. And yes, some of those things might actually be true. But they don't automatically mean stop. Sometimes you simply have to begin with what you have. Where you are. As you are. And improve along the way. So, if there's something you've been quietly thinking about starting again, I believe your time is now. Because you don't need permission from your past to create a future. And it is never too late to begin. Never. Pause. So, my friend, before we end the conversation tonight, here is something I want you to do. The practical exercise. The first tiny step. Take a piece of paper and write. 1. What do I want to start or restart? 2. I've been waiting because. 3. The smallest step I can take this week is. 4. I will do it by. Take note. Don't choose the impressive step. Choose the possible step. If someone wants to restart a business, the tiny step might simply be researching the first product. If they want to write a book, it might be opening a document and writing 100 words. If they want a new career, it might be updating their CV. Tiny step is not insignificant. Tiny is how momentum begins. That's our conversation for this month. Thank you for joining me. I am glad you showed up for yourself today. Take a breath, be kind to yourself, and remember, you are not late. You're here, and sometimes, here is exactly where a new beginning starts. Until next time, keep shining. A message for whenever you're watching this. And if you're watching this after our original conversation, maybe days from now, weeks or even months from now, I want you to know something. You didn't miss the moment. You're still here. And that's what matters. Maybe you found this video because you needed to hear these words today. Maybe you're thinking about starting over. Maybe you're trying to find your courage again. Or maybe life simply brought you here at exactly the right time. Whatever brought you here, take this conversation with you. You don't have to change your whole life tonight. You don't have to have all the answers. Just ask yourself, what is one small thing I can begin from where I am? And then, begin there. Because sometimes we spend so much time wishing we'd started earlier that we forget we can still start now. So whether you're watching this on premiere night or stumbling across it long after we've had this conversation, this is your reminder. You are not too late. Your story isn't over. And you are allowed to begin again. I'll see you at the next Can We Talk? Hosted by You Shine and Talk Buddy. Helping people feel seen, heard, and empowered. Until then, be gentle with yourself. Keep going. Keep growing. And most importantly, keep shining.